Hey, it's Grady at Twin Creek Audio, back in the studio today. Today I've got another mixing video for you. Today I'm going to mix an actual song. Well, of course it's an actual song, but I'm going to mix a song that's for actual release. A lot of the time I'm mixing things that have already been released that I've produced or mixed in the past, and I remix those through the analog console and analog equipment. But today I'm actually mixing something for the new Homespun Centaurs album. So you're going to get to hear unreleased music in this mixing video today. It's a really cool song called Sweet By and By. So I'm going to go over to the console and show you, like I normally do, some of the cool stuff I'm doing in this mix, where I go into all kinds of detail about the mix. So today I'm going to go over a lot of the special things that I'm doing, and then the rest of it, EQ and compression and stuff. And you'll see some screen captures and video of the rack gear and things like that as usual. But I'm not going to take all the time to go through every single thing so it doesn't get too boring. But hopefully you'll get something out of this, and you're definitely going to get to hear a really cool new song from Homespun Centaurs. So I have the song Sweet By and By from the forthcoming Homespun Centaurs album. And I have the song up on the console to perform the actual mix, or something close to what's going to be the final mix on the album here on the console. Got some of the typical EQ moves for me. You can watch a lot of my other videos to see generally how I EQ things, which is sometimes not a lot and occasionally a whole lot. So we've got drums down here, kick, snare, stereo toms, overheads, room mic. So the drums are here on channels 1 through 7, and these two small faders, these are actually some parallel compression. I have that just on the toms. On the Sapphyre console I can turn these small faders, which are normally the channel faders that would be going to tape or to the recording device, they can be turned into an additional send. In this case I've pressed these XFX buttons here on these to turn these into sends. And in the case of how this console works, I can use these to send to a pair of subgroups. So I'm sending my stereo tom mix that's coming from the audio interface and the digital audio workstation software here, that's panned hard left and right because they're panned in the box out this pair of channels. And then we're going up here to these faders for some parallel compression on the toms, which is always a cool thing. I like to do that. And there's another trick to this parallel compression on just the toms that I'm going to show you here in a minute. It's one of the main things I wanted to show in this video. It's pretty cool. Then overheads, which also has a hi-hat mic blended into it. There's not a whole lot of the hi-hat mic because that comes through in the overheads as well. So these are overheads, and then a room mic. This was an Avantone CK7 room mic. The rest of these close mics on the drum kit are just my typical Audix D6, Audix D1, Audix i5s, Audio-Technica Pro 37Rs for the overheads, and a PVM 480 for the hi-hat mic, which you're not hearing very much of anyway. So that's our drum setup. We've got some typical EQ moves. I've got a little bit of attack dialed into that kick drum, but it's a very rounded off kind of attack. This is an Americana kind of style song, so we don't need a real attacky, clicky kick drum. We need more of a rounded off 70s kind of a kick drum sound. So we've got just a little bit of attack dialed into that and removing a little tiny bit of low mids. Just typical EQ moves. The snare drum's a little different than usual. I am boosting some high mids and some high frequency shelf here, which on the Sapphyre this is 12K, and this is probably about 6K, 5K, 6K here, and a little bit of low mid boost as well. Some low mids being boosted on the tom, as well as some low frequency shelf EQ on the left side of the toms to give a little more low end to the smaller toms. That's all I'm doing there. I'm going to go back to this parallel compression thing on the toms. So the toms are here, parallel compression's going here from these faders to subgroups 1 and 2. Now I've turned these two channels on the Sapphyre. The Sapphyre has a floating subgroup design. So I've pressed the sub button, so I've turned these two channels, which is channels 25 and 26. These are now subgroups. I have the ART dual limiter on the insert of subgroups 1 and 2. See these red lights up here? Those are gates. So I have this parallel compression on those toms gated with the built-in gates on the Sapphyre. So when the toms hit, these gates open, and then when the tom fill after the toms decay, the gates close again. So that way I don't have parallel compression and I don't have to ride these faders or anything. I'm just gating the parallel compression when the tom fills hit. The rest of the time you've got the dry tom signal here is still going to the main mix, and that's okay because there's not a whole lot of bleed on that, and it actually kind of helps the drum kit sound more cohesive. So I don't want to take these out. I could have just gated these channels, but in this case I sent these to some parallel compression with the ART dual limiter, and then I gated the subgroups because that's possible on this console since the channels themselves become subgroups. Really cool trick you can do with the Sapphyre. This is the bass guitar. The bass guitar, as always, I have the Urei LA-10 compressor, the rack compressor on this bass guitar. Little tiny bit of EQ, boosting some around 700, 800, and I'm actually cutting some sub low out of here with the low frequency shelf EQ and taking out a little low mids as well. This bass has a ton of low end, a lot of sub low, so we wanted to tame that a little bit, or else I might have to mess with that later. These are the acoustic guitars, the stereo acoustic guitars. These are two separate mics. They were dynamic mics. One was an Audio-Technica Pro 61, which is a hypercardioid dynamic mic, and the other was an Alto DVM5, just a real inexpensive dynamic mic. And these are just the recorded tracks. There's no compression, a little bit of EQ, adding a little bit of 12K, adding a little bit of high mids and removing a little low mids here. And these were not run through color modules like I've shown in my last video for this song. These are just the recorded tracks with those two dynamic mics for the acoustic guitar. They sound really good, which just proves that you don't need expensive condenser microphones. You don't need an expensive large diaphragm condenser mic to record an acoustic guitar and have it sound good. Especially for this kind of music, it sounds just perfect to me. Actually really happy with the way that sounds. Again, no processing, no color modules or anything like that were used on these acoustic guitars. Just this touch of EQ. I'm going to go ahead and play this back. See if you can pick up on anything that Heath may have hidden in this song as a message to the people that watch this channel.
Here we go. Take number 3. This take goes out to YouTube Let me start over. This special take goes out to YouTube subscriber number 524 on Twin Creek Audio. This one's for you. They say go out and live your life. Try to have fun. Sign says I got a lot to give. Come get some. It leads you to another place. The joint is jumping.
Just listening to the beginning of that mix before the drums or anything else comes in, a couple of things that you're probably noticing already. One is that slide guitar, which we reamped. Actually, we used the Fatronix reamper and we reamped that. We used the NuX Atlantic delay and reverb pedal for that little bit of slapback delay, and then used my Jet City JCA20HV tube head with the little 10-inch Vox speaker cabinet, the little custom-made, homemade Vox speaker cabinet that I have. It sounds really cool. The other thing is you'll notice how good the vocals sound. Heath recorded all the vocals for this new Homespun Centaurs album with the TZ Audio Stellar X2 vintage microphone. If you missed that, check out the video I did on that. I did not include any vocals in the original video, but that's what you're hearing here. That's that Tech Zone Audio Stellar X2 vintage microphone. Sounds wonderful. Heath loved using that on all the vocals on this album, and on this track it sounds great, just like on all the tracks on the new Homespun Centaurs album. So I realized I described the drums and the setup, and then I didn't play the drums back yet, so let me remedy that now. Let me play you back the whole track when the drums kick in.
Bye, bye, baby, bye, bye. Bye, baby, bye, bye. Bye, baby, bye, bye. Bye, baby, bye, bye. Somewhere, another time, we'll meet on a beautiful day. We'll laugh about how young we were and the mistakes we made. You'll tell me about the places you've been. I'll tell you I've been alright. I'll see that twinkle in your eye for just 1 second or just one night. Ain't that the truth? You know it's a lie. Babe, we may never know until the sweet by and by. Bye, baby, bye bye. Bye, baby, bye bye. Bye, baby, bye bye. Bye, baby, bye bye. Bye, baby, bye bye.
So there's some other tracks here. You know, you've got the electric guitar, the slide guitar, which we reamped, and we've got some strings. We've got some here, and then the other strings are coming in down here. There's really hardly any tricks to that at all. The strings, I do have the SoftTube Tape plug-in on those in the box, but that's it. There's no compression on the acoustic guitars, the electric guitars, that slide guitar, no compression on that. We reamped that slide guitar, and that's really all that's going on. Now, the two vocal tracks down here, I have the ART TCS twin compressor system on those using the OPL vocal preset. And I really think that's a great sounding compressor. And on this style of music that we've been working with on this new Homespun Centaurs album, the sound of that compressor has been perfect on all the vocals. In some cases, we've also used the Symetrix CL-100 on a vocal track, and that sounds really good too. But the ART TCS twin compressor system has been a constant on almost all the vocal tracks on this entire album as we were mixing it. Just a great compressor. I wish that ART, or ART as some people call them, I wish they still made the TCS. You'll also notice there is some reverb. It's the Yamaha Rev500. The only things that have any reverb on them in this mix are the strings, that slide guitar, and background vocals. The lead vocal is dry. So that's the reverb that you're hearing. I'll play a little bit of that.
Bye.
So on the kick drum, in a switch from usual, I'm using the DBX163X compressor on the kick drum track on this. It has just that right pillowy kind of kick drum sound for the style of music, and it's worked really well on all the tracks on this new album as we've been mixing them. The tracks that I didn't use the DBX163X on the kick drum, I used no compression on the kick drum. On the snare drum, I've been using the Symetrix 501, and just varying the attack and release and the threshold ratio just a little bit between songs, but that's also consistently used. And on this track, that's what we're using there. And that's really that and the parallel compression here with the ART dual limiter, and of course we're gating that. So it's really, really cool trick. I really like the fact that I can do all this with hardware, and the results speak for themselves. Of course, some of the things in the box are helping, but the only plugin in the box I'm using is the SoftTube Tape plugin, and basically using that on snare, toms, and on the strings. Here's what our two vocal tracks sound like. Both of these vocal tracks are going through the ART TCS twin compressor system, and the higher vocal track, which is a little lower in the mix, but it's a higher pitch, so it's actually you're hearing that pretty loud, and that has some of the Yamaha Rev500 reverb. But right now let's hear just the vocals with the ART TCS compressor on them and the reverb on one of the two vocals.
Try to have fun. Sign says I got a lot to give. Come get some. It leads you to another place. The joint is jumping. Sad music seeping into your veins, but your heart keeps thumping.
So that's pretty awesome. You have that lead vocal, the lower register vocal right up front with the compression on it, and then the other one comes in with the reverb, and it just sounds fantastic. I just like that. I don't know why I like things. My ears just like them, and so I go with it. You know, just when you hear something you like, you go with it, right? So now I'm going to actually print the final mix of this song for the album. I think this sounds really good. Didn't have to do a whole lot because it was recorded well. And of course the TZ Audio Stellar X2 vintage microphone that was used on the vocal tracks, just that thing's absolutely wonderful. You guys need to go check out my video that I did about that microphone, and jump on the internet and check the link in the other video description for that microphone, because it's a fantastic mic.
Here we go. Take number 3. This take goes out to you, Soups.
Oh yeah, I need to take out the silly bit that we did for YouTube before I actually leave that on the thing. God, Grady, that's silly. Yeah, let's take out that silly bit real quick, because that was just for the benefit of the video. We already did that part. Okay, now we should be good. So we can hopefully mix this song. Can we mix the song now? Let's go back and mix the song. Rock and roll. Well, Americana and kind of rolly chair, maybe.
Here we go. They say go out and live your life. Try to have fun. Sign says I got a lot to give. Come get some. It leads you to another place. The joint is jumping. Sad music seeping into your veins, but your heart keeps thumping. Is this the truth? Is it a lie? We may never know until that sweet by and by. Bye, baby, bye-bye. baby, bye bye. Bye, baby, bye bye. Bye, baby, bye bye. Somewhere, another time, we'll meet on a beautiful day. We'll laugh about how young we were and the mistakes we made. You'll tell me about the places you've been. I'll tell you I've been alright. I'll see that twinkle in your eye for just 1 second or just one night. Ain't that the truth? You know it's a lie. Babe, we may never know until the sweet by and by. Bye, baby, bye bye. Bye, baby, bye bye. Bye, baby, bye bye. Bye, baby, bye bye.
Cool. That was a lot of fun. The gated parallel compression on just the toms seems to work really well. And it gave me a pretty natural sound. You know, I didn't quite expect that. I thought maybe it would be too processed. But I just didn't want those cool tom fills that were accenting things. They seemed to get lost in the mix without it. So I rigged up this solution to that problem in the mix. I think we've got a nice smooth, kind of soft and not too intense mix, but that's gonna be really great whenever it goes to mastering, hopefully. We'll see. I'm really excited about the new Homespun Centaurs album. Producing and mixing that has been a lot of fun for me, and I think that we've got some great results for this new album, so I'm really excited about that coming out. I'm going to have some more videos about the new Homespun Centaurs album, maybe some more mixing videos or some behind the scenes of the making of it and that kind of information here on the channel in future videos. So make sure to check back here on the channel, as well as liking this video and subscribing to the Twin Creek Audio YouTube channel if you have not done so already. Hope that each and every one of you out there has an excellent day, night, evening, weekend, weekday, hour, minute, second, nanosecond. Whatever it is you're having, have a good one. Thanks so much for watching.